How's it going, guys? Electron Man. Well, we're going to do a little different project today. We're going to build a 50 amp 12 volt power supply, and we're going to build it on the cheap, but I think it's going to be better than anything you can buy for under $150 on Amazon. This is going to be my challenge anyway. I was looking around, and I'm wanting to get a little bit bigger power supply in my shop as far as my bench, my radio bench, and I got to looking around, and I was looking at power supplies, and basically 30 amps running you about $100, 50 amps running you $150, and not that that's a bad thing. They're lights are switching power supplies, which I'm okay with that. We'll see how the noise is. We'll go through all that testing, but from what I've had experience with these computer grade power supplies or LED power supplies, if you get the decent ones, the noise isn't bad at all, and I haven't any problem with that. But anyway, if you buy a switching power supply, even one that's for 12 volts, it's basically the same components. So don't kid yourself there. But anyway, I went ahead and kind of went on Amazon and went on a little shopping spree here, and I kind of go over what I bought and what my whole plan for this is. Basically, I bought this project box, which is a cool little project box. I think it's perfect for a little 50 amp power supply. And then I found these switches. I'm kind of trying to make this as simple as quick as you can do it. And I actually got two for the price of one, I guess you could say. But it's cool. It's basically it's a on-off lit switch. It's already pre-wired for the for your power supply, and it's got a just a standard, PC whatever plug. I've got 100 of those laying around. Some ideas on that on the back, so it'll have a on-off switch. And then I bought some. I'm gonna go ahead and put a cigarette lighter plug on the front of it. Something a lot of the power supplies for 150 that they had that I wanted that didn't have. Kind of handy. I do test like some mobile CBs and stuff that need the cigarette plug, and it's just nice to have one on the front. I could even do two if I want, because that's another deal. I ended up with the pack of three. And then I got this cool little meter here. It does volts and amps, and it also came with the shunt. We'll go ahead and get those mounted in there, and which that's another thing. I wanted a nice, set of meters. I want amps and voltage, and again, a lot of the $150 ones, they might show volts, they might show amps. Nothing I don't think is going to be as cool as this digital display I'm going to be putting in there. And so we went and got that. And then as far as power connectors for the front, I actually got a set of these. It was two together. I'm debating on whether I'm going to put one set on there, maybe one set on the front and on the back, maybe two sets so it has two accesses to the 12 volt sources. We'll see. I'm going to go kind of take the front panel off here, lay it out, cut it out, or do the cutouts and figure out how exactly I'm going to mount all this and make it nice and pretty on the front. And then of course, then I've got my 50 amp switch and power supply. Pretty much, that's all you need to build this power supply. And I think I can definitely beat what the competition has out there. I've got $90 in this right now, maybe $95 with tax and everything. So I'm definitely under $100 to build a custom power supply to the way I want it, with a digital display, a nice on-off switch on the back, nice banana type connectors. These are my favorite type to use for 12 volt power supplies and the power supply. So anyway, let me go ahead and stop this now, and I'm going to go ahead and take this front off and kind of start figuring out how I'm going to lay out my front screen as far as my cigarette lighter plug, my binding post, and my meter. Be back. This is Electron Man. Hope you enjoyed this little series. Okay, guys, as you can see, I went ahead and took the front faceplate off and marked where one of my locations, which I'm going to put my meter center on this side, put my cigarette lighter plug in the middle, and put my binding post for my power to the right. I thought about putting two of them there. I could always go back and add another set, but I think I only need two on it, honestly, especially since they're banana type, so you can always use the banana centers. That's why I like this type, is if any of the banana plugs will also go in there, so you kind of get dual conversion as well as the pinch behind the post. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a little time here and get this all cut out, and we'll get the post mounted on there. We'll get the cigarette lighter plug in there, and we'll get the meter installed in there, and then we'll work on to the next step. Well, guys, I'm back, and now I have my front panel done in all its glory. A few things on it. If you buy one of these cases like I bought, which I love the little case, but this is steel. I mean, it's not like tin or aluminum or a mix. It's steel, and it is hard as a rock to drill in. And I dremelled out my meter, and of course I didn't have I had a 1 inch hole saw, but I didn't have a 1 1/4, so I had to grind out for the cigarette lighter because it's like 1 1/8 or something, and then these poles here, these weren't too bad, but cutting this guy out was a burger with a Dremel tool and a cut wheel. I tell you, the steel is just really hard to be worn. I don't know what you could have used that would have been easier, but then, idiot me, I mean, I'll go ahead and confess my mistakes when I make them. I've kind of hit it pretty good, but I cut it a little bit too wide. So I got a little bit of a gap up top here. I was able to use the piece that I cut out and fold it over and silicone it in there. It actually gives it good support, so it kind of worked out good, other than I got this little narrow gap at the top, which maybe I'll put a sticker or something above that to kind of cover it. But I mean, it looks fine. I mean, this is my first one. It's a prototype. Lesson learned. I got the template now to know what size to cut it. I should have cut it a little small and then got from there. Instead, I cut a little big to start with. But anyway, but that's the idea there. Have my power here, have a cigarette lighter plug here, and this will have your volts and your amps there. So my next things will do will be to go ahead and start doing some wiring. I don't know how detailed you want me to get in this. I'll probably wire it and then come back and go over how I wired it. Would be the best way, I think, to do that. I got to mount the shunt in here, and obviously got to get into the wiring part of it now, and then I'll go ahead and get the power supply set in there and get screwed down, and we'll kind of show where we're at with it. But anyway, kind of want to give you an update. But there's what the front of it's going to look like anyway. We'll be back. This is Electron Man. Okay, guys, we've got her basically wired. Kind of go through this wire and help you out if you wanted to try to build one of these kits. It definitely took me a little head scratching here to. Don't look at the diagram on the back of the shunt, the meter, because it's totally, it doesn't make any sense. Chinese language, English, Chinese, I don't know. Anyway, it don't follow it because it was totally confusing. But anyway, this is a shunt, and what a shunt is it detects, it's what reads your current. So your load's going to need to go through this shunt. So obviously you want this in between your draw or your load. So I hooked it on the negative side. Of course, the back of this thing said to use the positive, but I went out and I think you could probably use it on either, but I prefer using it on the negative side. But anyway, basically, if you start from here, this is going to be your 12 volts power supply on this side. So this is your power supply over here. I haven't installed it yet. I'm trying to just get it all laid out before I install it. But basically, this is your positive and negative that's going to come off your power supply. It comes in here, and the positive will just go to the straight post of the positive on the on your front panel positive, and then I have to bring a wire over to give voltage feed to the meter. So I just read one small red wire. I use like a 16 gauge wire. It's not going to draw any current or anything, so no problem there. And I use 10 gauge on these, but I figure for 50 amps 10 gauge should be good enough. Anyway, go ahead and you run this wire over here, and this goes into the center tab on the meter, and that's just for 12 volt positive. That feeds the meters its positive current. And then on the negative side, you're going to come from the negative meter, goes in here, and it goes into the shunt, and it goes through the shunt, and then it goes to your pole or your connection on the front of your power supply for your load. And that's where your sensing is as you can tell here, there's a break in between your negative wire, and the shunt is in that break. So what that does is when current pulls, it is able to detect how much current is pulled on the shunt, and that's what reads it back to the meter. And then on the meter, it's just basically one side goes to the common, and the other side goes to the amp reading. And if you do it that way, it will work. And I've already tested it. I just hooked up my little power supply, made sure everything was correct, and this is the correct way to do it. Of course, I have my cigarette lighter, and I just wired it. It actually came with some wire, so I just used it, but had the nice plugs on the end, but just positive to positive, negative to negative on that. It's just a standard 12 volt power, 12 volt cigarette lighter plug. It doesn't have to be in the amp sensing part of it, but it will still obviously read anything you pull through it as far as current wise, because it's hooked on the load side. As you can see, if it pulls load, it still has to go through this break and back to the common. So hopefully I didn't go through that too fast, but basically this is all the wiring, like I said, other than hooking my source up or my 12 volt or my power supply here, which I'll go back over one more time once I get it in there. I just kind of wanted to, it's easier for me to show it here. I'm going to have to go ahead and install it and do the last of hooking the power supply up, and of course I still have to hook the AC up to the power supply, but this is definitely the DC side of the circuit right here. We'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back, and I've got it all panel all front mounted on the front of it now, and all wired, and with that pretty big 50 amp power supply, I had to pretty make sure everything moved up front. I mean, it's a pretty tight box for a 50 amp. You know, I was looking, actually, I think I could stack two of them and actually make it 100 amp too if I wanted to, but double it up. But 50 amps is all I'm going to need. But anyways, you can see I got her all wire tied up and nice and neat now. Everything's wired as it needed to be with the shunt. Like I said, I already kind of went over the wiring. It's just now you can see it mounted in the box and all tie wrapped up and everything. And, that's how she looks at the front. And basically all I got left to do is hook up my power wires to my 50 amp power supply here. Oh, and I got the back one done, which I cut perfectly. Go figure, the back one I get cut right the first time. And I used pop rivets to go ahead and secure that. Just thought that looked good. Looked kind of factory almost. But anyway, there's my switch. So all I got to do was wire the switch and wire the two power wires and mount it in there. And I think it's such a good tight fit. I was thinking about, it's got 4 holes that I could template out and drill and bolt. But I think I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. The main reason I wanted to go this direction too is, you know, in the future, say the power supply gives, well, the way it is, it's going to be really portable and easy to repair. All I'd have to replace is that module. So basically what I have built is a nice 12-volt box for this type power supply. And, you know, if she ever goes out, all I got to do is, you know, pop the foam tape from the bottom and drop another one in and hook 5 wires up and you're back up and running. I think that even makes it even better than the cheapest I saw was like $160. And I think mine's going to look better. But anyway, let me go ahead and get this dropped in there. It is a tight fit, but I've already pre-checked everything. It fits perfectly. And I'll show it to you all wired up before I put the lid on it. Yeah, she's definitely going to stick down there. I'm going to get up the front as close as I can. Boy, she's definitely stuck down there. I ain't going nowhere. You're looking pretty sexy if I don't say so myself. Check it out. It's gonna be nice. All we're gonna have to do is fire this guy up. Plug her gun and rock and roll. Okay guys, check it out. She's basically done. All I got to do is put the top cover on. As you can see now, I've got my power supply mounted in here. All cable tied up. All nice and neat. Here's how the power supply sits. Got my back plug in with power strip. Here's your power plug. This uses a standard computer plug on about any monitor. Got to pop rivet it in. The bottom view. Let me go ahead and put the cover on and let's fire her up. There you go, guys. One 50 amp power supply done. 50 amps at 12 volts. Actually, I set it about 13. I like to run them just about a volt to high, maybe even 13.8, but I usually run them about 13. Got your power poles, got your cigarette lighter plug, got your DC, got your switch. Is that not cool? Is that not cool? Well, super cool, right guys? Super cool. Yes, I could have bought one for $150, but I built this one for under $100, and I got enough parts other than a case and a power supply to build another one. So, yeah, technically I could build 2 of them for about the price of one. And I like mine better. I like the digital meter. I like having the cigarette plug, which gives you the, whichever way you want to go. If you want to go with, you can put a USB charger in there, or just about anything that runs on 12 volts. But anyway, really tickled with it. Hope you enjoyed my little kit build here of a 50 amp power supply. I'll leave all the links down below for all the parts I used. Everything was bought off of Amazon. I think I added it up, and depending on sales, etc., I ended up with the tax and everything right at about $95, but I ended up with extras of these, and extra switches on the back. So like I said, I definitely have enough to build another one with just buying the case and the power supply. But anyway, kit built for under $95, and I mean, I think it looks just as good as anything you can buy off the shelf. It only weighs about 3 or 4 pounds. Awesome, right, guys? Anyway, have a great day out there. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and thumbs up and hit that bell so you'll see the next cool kit or repair I'm going to come up with.